What is going on, everybody? It is Saturday. You know what day it is. We talk to various partners outside of our ecosystem. We love to get to new teams, new chains, all the good stuff. Today, we've got THORChain. ARRR. I cannot wait to talk to them, you guys. But before we do that, let's get this introduction out of the way. For those who do not know, THORChain is the world's leading Bitcoin DEX. You can swap 13 different blockchains across 41 different pools without using bridges or wrap tokens. Check it out at swap.thorchain.org, swap.thorchain.org. Anyone in the world can use THORChain. There's no account open, no KYC required, and privacy is a human right. You better believe we're going to be talking about that later. THORChain has two tokens, Rune and TCY. The fees for swapping on THORChain are paid in Rune, and that's where the yield comes from. The fees are deducted from swaps, so you don't need to own Rune to trade on THORChain. The Rune token is also deflationary, as 5% of fees are burned. 10% of protocol fees goes to TCY token holders. Remember to stake the TCY tokens in order to collect that yield. There are no block rewards on THORChain. The protocol's fees are real money paid by real users. THORChain is more than just a DEX, you guys. It is a programmable layer 1 with the ability to create smart contracts and dApps. This app layer is being developed by Rujira. If you need help with THORChain in general, please, guys, join the THORChain community Discord and Telegram group links. Those are on thorchain.org, thorchain.org. And on thorchain.org, you can join our email list, you guys. This is the best way to stay up to date with THORChain. And always remember, you guys, this podcast is for information and educational purpose only and does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. The THORChain community does not endorse, condone illicit activity of any kind whatsoever. And with that out of the way, you guys, what's going on? My name is Denny. I go by Patriot Sounds on X. I love THORChain. Been doing this for a long time. I can't get enough of it. I'm addicted. It's Kenton's fault. Speaking of Kenton, let's kick it to Kenton. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. Dude, you were into THORChain before me, I think, even. So,
Maybe.
Yeah. No, it's...
You made that banger intro video, though, years ago, and I'm like, oh, my God. the prophecy of the three. The prophecy of the three. That's when my addiction started. So it's your fault, bro.
I think it's the prophecy is still possible.
Yes, it is.
I think realistically, it's more like top 10. I think that's doable. I got to redo that video too.
So when you pray, you know how you pray, you do this? What's the prophecy of the three? If it's like this, like, it's like that. Is that how we do that?
That's how we do it.
That's how we do it. Prophecy of the three.
That is how we do it. It's Thursday, not Thursday night. Daniel's like, what the hell am I getting myself into? And these guys talking about. I do need to redo that video. I was actually thinking about doing it this year. One of these days I will. And so lots changed with THORChain. But I'll just give a little quick update. I don't know if you guys saw me post about the S&P Pantera Digital Asset Index. It's just gone live. It's a index of cryptos that make money. And Bitcoin actually isn't on it. And they have like Hyperliquid and Ethereum and whatever. And so obviously THORChain should be on that list, right? And so I went and dug in the criteria to have THORChain included in the index, like what it takes. And there's three things where we need. One is to have THORChain on Lukka, Lukka. Already been in touch with them. They already said we're there, we're good. We don't need to do anything else to be included in the index. So that's good. The next one is we need THORChain data on Artemis. So Artemis is like Token Terminal and Blockworks and Messari. And that's on my short list. So I want to do Token Terminal first, and then Artemis is next on my list. And it's just a matter of money, you guys. Like, you know, if volume takes off and I get a bunch of money in the fund, marketing fund, boom, we're doing it, right? And then the other one, the main thing is the Maroon market cap has to be over 500 million. So obviously we're not there yet. So Lukka, I should be able to get Artemis done well before we hit 500 million. I expect, I hope so anyway. And then when we do hit 500 million, then I can go pester S&P and Pantera. I guess to be S&P, pester them to try and get us in the index. And this is a long-term play, right? If like it's just an index, right? It doesn't mean anything. It's just like going to be a chart on a graph. But eventually there'll be mutual funds and ETFs that track the index, and they just arbitrarily buy what's in it. So this will be a long-term play to get THORChain and something like that. So that being said, I don't really have much else. I want to kick it over to Daniel here with PirateChain. And Daniel, if you could just give us a quick introduction of yourself, your journey in crypto, why you got into it, why you like it, and how that led to PirateChain.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you so much for having me on. And like you said, my name is Daniel. I'm a first mate at PirateChain. A lot of people might know me as my online username, which is the Johns, on Discord, Telegram, and other places. So, but I've been around crypto for quite a while. I was, a child of the Ron Paul revolution years ago. That's where I started learning about sound money and such. So I've found Bitcoin pretty early, relatively. And I started blogging about it on a couple different blogging sites, not necessarily about Bitcoin, but about cryptocurrency and hard money. Uh, Years ago, probably back in 2015, 2016 is when I started doing that. My blogs aren't up anymore because I'm not especially proud of my work back then. I was kind of young and dumb at the time. So, and then I found Monero through all, I was a true believer in Bitcoin as a, peer-to-peer digital currency, actually used as money as an alternative to fiat, not necessarily just as an investment to, hold and make money off of. So I was always interested in that. And then it became clearer and clearer all the time. I first saw Bitcoin that was one of the things that drove me to Bitcoins. I saw it as, anonymous, a way to transact online privately. But after a few years, it became like incredibly clear that it is absolutely not. It's almost the opposite of private. I'm still a fan of Bitcoin, but it became clear that it is not private. And for doing daily transactions or important transactions, you really don't want to broadcast all that data to the world for everybody to see. And you can get some anonymity with Bitcoin, but it takes a lot of steps to the point it's not really useful for your average person and for day-to-day transacting. So I knew I wanted, to put my support and time behind something that could actually replace fiat as a day-to-day currency. And I just didn't see that with Bitcoin, but I did find Monero around that time, became active in their community. I did all this anonymously, even my blogging back in the day. I never used my name or showed my face or anything like that. I did everything under pseudonyms online and stuff. And I became, active in the Monero community. And in 2020, 2020, I was messing around on Reddit. I was on Reddit back in the day, and in the Monero subreddit, which I was a very active community member there. And somebody mentioned PirateChain, where they were talking about PirateChain in there. And when I asked what it was, the people on there responded like it's like Monero, but it's funner or something. They made it sound like it was a meme coin, like a meme coin with privacy, so something like Wownero or something. That's what I originally thought it was. And a few months later, they were talking about Zcash in the Monero subreddit also, and how, ZK snarks and zero knowledge proofs provided such incredible privacy compared to obfuscation. And I was made a comment saying, I wish, Zcash would have shielded the whole chain and didn't have optional privacy. And someone commented in there is like, that's what PirateChain is. It's a fork of Zcash without the optional privacy. And so I went and joined the PirateChain Discord and started going down that rabbit hole. So I wasn't like super early into PirateChain. I didn't find the project till a couple years after it launched. But after I found it, I, just came knee deep in it and started hanging out in the Discord a lot, and became friends with a lot of people. I found that the developers and the team members were very approachable, and I could ask them questions directly, and they explained a lot of things to me. And so I was just an active community member for a while. I was still doing some blogging at that time. So I wrote about PirateChain and had some of the team members, edit my blog posts that I was doing. And I was just generally just a community member in PirateChain for a couple years there. And then I got invited because one of the team members, my good friend Amy, was speaking at a conference in Phoenix, and she was doing a presentation, and she wanted someone to do the presentation with her. We had talked a lot on Discord, and she knew that I understood the chain quite a bit. I've been using it for a long time, and I understood it. And I lived in the Southwest, so she invited me to come to the conference with her and do the presentation with her. So I did it, And apparently her and the rest of the team were impressed because as soon as I got back from the conference, they invited me to be on the team, and I started contributing to it. And at some point, I eventually morphed into the guy who does podcasts and does public appearances and stuff like that. Started sending me to conferences to do presentations, and putting me out to do podcasts and things like this. I never thought I was exceptionally good at it, but everybody else seems to think I'm decent at it, so I'm the face they put out there now. So, and I eventually started showing my face just because I got so much feedback that when you show your face on screen, you get way more. I know I'm not showing my face right now. We had some technical issues and stuff, but if you show your face, you get way more reach and the content does better. So, and I was showing my face at conferences anyways. So I eventually put my face out there, and now I'm pretty much doxxed, which I'm not stoked about, but I'm happy to, push Pirate Chain and bring it to the world. So it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. So
That's
yeah,
great, man.
that's how I got involved with Pirate Chain.
Dude, that's actually, it's pretty cool. A community member kind of working their way up. I mean, that's my story. I think that's Denny's story as well. And that's the cool part about crypto. And it's like, it just kind of happens. And it's like, it's almost like like you say this all the time, Denny, like a ruthless meritocracy. Like, you wouldn't have worked your way up in Pirate Chain if your ideas were dumb or if you're doing a bad job. Like, it's like the cream rises to the top, right? So you must be contributing, adding value that other people see it and you're being respected, and so that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I tell people a lot, like, just get involved and start contributing. We're all decentralized projects. You don't need to ask anyone's permission to go and, contribute to the project and do something. And I try to remind people I was just a normal community member. And since then, I've got to meet some of the people I respect most in the industry, become really good friends with them, have direct contact information with them. I get to go to these cool conferences and hang out with a lot of people I respected for a long time, and it's really cool. And I got here just by contributing. My goal wasn't to be like a personality or a face in blockchain space, but it just kind of happened that way because I was contributing so much. And yeah, my only goal was to just, push, get people onboarded onto cryptocurrencies, onto Pirate Chain and Monero and things similar like that. And now I'm really happy with what I've accomplished since then and the people I got to know and the things I get to do now. It's a very rewarding contribution.
Nice, man. You mentioned your first mate at Pirate Chain. What does that mean?
I don't know. I mean,
you call yourself?
Well, no, we have
a title.
We have like tiers for our team. We have captains. We actually have two captains, Hossein and Kosius, and they're kind of the leaders of our team. And I guess first mate is just the role directly below those. And there's 4 or 5 of us first mates. So, and then we have below that, we have just standard crew. We call them crew. It's all after pirate titles, So I guess I'm just one rung below the captains on the hierarchy of our team. I guess I think it's more just something to make you feel good when you've contributed a lot. They give you a better title, So yeah. But
I hear you. We have like, I think Denny for THORChain, we're just all THORchads. I don't think we call ourselves it. We're all
Kenton's the God King. Kenton's God King. I'm gonna start saying it now. He's the God King. Emperor God. I don't know.
No, but honestly, Dan, that's really cool because that's my same journey in THORChain basically. So that's pretty cool, man. Well, let's get into it. So tell, like, what is it about Pirate Chain like got you? I mean, obviously you're familiar with crypto. You understand why it's important. Ron Paul and the Fed. You're there. You get it. Well, so why Pirate Chain? What like got you into that? Yeah.
Well, I always loved Monero. And I'm still love Monero. I'm a big supporter of Monero. I onboard people to it all the time. I rarely talk about Pirate Chain without also talking about Monero. It's the biggest privacy coin. You can use it in the most places. So I absolutely love it when people start using Monero. But it, has always used obfuscation to gain privacy. And it works really, really well, actually, for the most part. But there has been, several incidences in Monero's history where the privacy was compromised or broken temporarily. Everything's always been fixed and stuff, but they have had some problems. But for the most part, you've had really good privacy using Monero. But they used obfuscation, and this made them have to do a bunch of other stuff. They'd find a hole and have to patch it and stuff like that. And I found zero knowledge proofs to just be a far more elegant solution. Sharing no information is a lot more secure than, sharing your information, but mixing it up with a bunch of decoys. So I thought that was absolutely incredible. And if we really wanted, money that was, super resistant, to surveillance, not just from, the general public, but from governments or institutions or things of that nature, then we would absolutely need stronger privacy. And so I was really stoked when Zcash came out. But the optional privacy, causes a lot of problems. It allows timing attacks. And the biggest thing that optional privacy does is that it makes it so businesses and institutions don't allow you to deposit or withdraw, shielded private coins. They force you to go in and out with transparency, which I don't like them even given that choice. Which we see that now there is not very many exchanges where you can actually buy or sell shielded Zcash. You have to do it transparently, which really sucks. So I like to not give these institutions the option to. So then when I first heard about Pirate Chain, and the other big thing was, Pirate Chain had a fair launch. We didn't have a pre-mine or an ICO or a centralized foundation or anything like that. And I'm not, trying to cast blame on, projects that did do that, because I 100% understand why they do that. I'm behind the scenes here trying to budget, trying to raise money and stuff like that. And holy cow, it'd be a lot easier if we did have an ICO. We'd have a lot bigger of a marketing budget. I wouldn't have to be doing these fundraisers with our communities every month, trying to raise money for promotion and stuff like that. But ultimately, I think Pirate Chain did make the correct choice. We took the more difficult path, but I think the correct path of, doing it as decentralized as possible without an ICO or a pre-mine or any centralized foundation like that, which I thought was really important to try to have something we considered sound money. We're trying to mimic, hard currencies, but digitally. And with something like gold or silver, there's no ICO for gold. There's nobody that votes on the characteristics of the gold in my safe. It just is what it is. It exists and it does what it does, And so I thought it was important, if we're truly trying to make a commodity out of these digital assets, that it didn't have a centralized foundation or ICO or pre-mine. So those are the two big things that drove me to Pirate Chain, that, it had a fair launch, and then it also was 100% private by default, with absolutely no transparent transactions. So that's what ultimately drove me to Pirate Chain. But I'm not a Pirate Chain maxi by any means. I'm a big supporter of Monero. I'm at Monerotopia every year. I'm onboarding people onto Monero. When I get people to download a wallet or something, I really like Edge Wallet, so I'm onboarding people onto Edge Wallet all the time. I usually give them a couple bucks in Monero and a couple bucks in Pirate Chain. I'm out here just trying to get people to use alternatives to fiat, and I consider it a win if somebody does any buying or selling with any currency besides fiat. I'm stoked, and I consider it a win. So I'm not a Pirate Chain maxi. This just happened to be the project that could use my contribution the most. So this is the one that I'm on the team for. But I do love everyone trying to fight for privacy and decentralization.
That's great, man. That's a great attitude. The maxis drive me nuts.
Yeah, they're annoying.
I could be. Well, I have called myself a THORChain maxi, but just for lack of a better term, but I still celebrate everyone else contributing what they're trying to do. This is a team effort, right?
Yeah.
We're all trying to hit this at different angles. And you always say this, Danny, Paul from Edge Wallet, right?
Yeah, Paul from Edge Wallet, yeah. He
Yeah.
said,
What does he say?
we all have the same goal, we're just meeting in the middle, right? And
Yeah,
so speaking of Edge Wallet, that's perfect, Daniel. And I love that phrase. It's so true.
Yeah, Edge Wallet is the best, dude. I love Paul and their entire team. They really care about privacy, and they've contributed to the ecosystem
Me too.
a ton. So, and Pirate Chain is on Edge Wallet. They're big supporters of us and have helped us a ton throughout the years.
Well, so Monero does obfuscation to achieve privacy. Zcash has optional privacy with zero knowledge proof, and Pirate Chain is just zero knowledge proof. It's a privacy by default. Can you maybe explain the obfuscation part on Monero? Maybe some of our listeners don't quite sure understand the difference between those two privacy mechanisms between Monero and Pirate Chain.
Yeah. Well, Monero, they take your one real transaction and they mix it up with 15 decoy transactions. So, and they also give a bunch of other, privacy solutions, with network privacy and stuff like that, with things like Dandelion, so people can't see who's connecting to the network and stuff like that. They can't link IP addresses to the network. But essentially, their core privacy tool is to take your one real transaction and mix it up with 15 decoys, which gives you an anonymity set of 16. The real transaction could be 1 out of 16 of these transactions. You can still see a lot of that data on the chain. And over the years, different people have figured out ways to, remove some of the decoys, or in some cases, remove all of the decoys to reveal the real transaction. And it's usually not something like your average person could do. It's something that a company like Chainalysis or something can do with different types of attacks. But in general, it gives you very good privacy, but it does have some holes, and it has caused them to, have to make changes over the years, just patch up holes over it over the years, just because the information is still publicly viewable. You just can't tell what's real and what's noise. So what PyroChain uses, and Zcash was the first people to develop this for blockchain, at least zero knowledge proofs, is essentially a way to validate the transactions on chain without sharing any information about them whatsoever. An analogy we use often is I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with Where's Waldo books. So imagine you got a Where's Waldo book, or I have a Where's Waldo book, and I find Waldo in there, and I take a piece of paper with a small hole in it, and I put it over the book with the hole over Waldo's face, so you can see Waldo's face through there. And then I show it to you. I can prove to you that I know where Waldo is without actually revealing to you where Waldo is or any other information about it. But I'm able to prove it, and you can, in a way that you can accept and realize that this is valid, that I know where Waldo is. So zero knowledge proofs are a way to do that, a way to prove information is true without actually revealing any of that information. And it's kind of hard to wrap your head around, but the more you dig into it, the more you realize how really incredible it is, and how powerful it can be for not just currencies, but there's a million other use cases for zero knowledge proofs too, and we see them rolling out in a bunch of other industries right now too, which is really exciting. But essentially, it's if you go to a block explorer for PyroChain, you won't see any information on the blocks. I mean, you could see really the only information it shows is how many transactions happened in a particular block, but it doesn't link addresses, wallet amounts, balances, anything like that. And it's just a really elegant solution because of that. We don't have to, go and patch holes and figure out ways. We don't have to keep up with the people trying to, de-anonymize things, but because there's really, or like what's the word I'm looking for? They've been able to remove decoy transactions and stuff like that to reveal real ones, but we don't have to worry about that because there's nothing visible on chain. It's essentially an empty box. And because of that, zero knowledge proofs are really the most private way to do anything out there. A lot of people ask me, like, oh, what if a chain comes along that has more privacy than PyroChain? And my response is, like, I'm not really worried about that, because it's like showing you an empty box and saying, how do I make this box more empty? Like, you can't. The box is already empty. There's nothing in the box. So you really can't get more private. It's not revealing any information. PyroChain's been going for 8 years strong. Zcash has been going for 10 years strong. ZK Snarks has never had any major privacy vulnerabilities at all. And I think that's, shown is beat the test of time. We've had lots of people trying to attack Zcash and PyroChain and de-anonymize our transactions, and none have been successful. And I really think it shows the power of zero knowledge proofs. So I do want to mention too that Monero is in the stages of moving to zero knowledge proofs. Not ZK Snarks; they're building their own novel zero knowledge proofs. But they are moving in that direction too, and I'm really excited for that, because I think the privacy is just so much better when you're using zero knowledge proofs compared to obfuscation.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. That's obviously a hat tip to zero knowledge proof then, if Monero is going to do it.
Yeah, it's called full chain membership proofs is what they're working on.
FCMP.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a zero knowledge proof.
Oh, I didn't know that. I just keep seeing the acronym thrown around that's coming soon. I didn't actually know that's what it is. Okay. So, now, and please, Daniel, my understanding of this is pretty basic. Isn't one of the criticisms of zero knowledge proof is that like you can't verify the actual supply? Like, how do we know the
Yeah.
supply of Pirate Chain is fixed? Whereas like with Monero, we can actually prove this supply.
I
Okay, go ahead.
I don't think it's any different than Monero in that sense. I don't believe Monero you can actively prove you can in real time prove the supply. I could be
Okay.
wrong, but that's the way I understood it, that you couldn't.
But you do know better than me, trust me. So
Yeah,
I misspoke. I misspoke then.
yeah, so I think that's the case with every fully private privacy coin out there. You can't actively prove the supply. We do audit the coins as they are minted. So I guess I misspoke earlier when I said there's no transparent transactions on Pirate Chain. The Coinbase transaction is transparent. So the transaction from a newly minted coin to the miner is transparent, so it can be audited that way. But you are correct that after the coins are minted, if there is some sort of bug in the software that can allow for coins to be minted, that there is no way to see that afterwards. But with the newest improvements that Zcash just came out with, that Pirate Chain is implementing ourselves, Ironwood. I don't know if you stay up with the news on Zcash, but they're moving to a new pool called Ironwood here. I think it's this coming week. Launch is happening, the pool launch. And with Ironwood, and I fully don't understand this yet. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, but they do have some sort of formal verification where they can cryptographically prove that there's no inflation, but they can't audit the coins, like count the coins, but they have some sort of implementation where they are able to actively see that there are not inflation bugs in the code. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. So people out, because this is also new, Ironwood is just over you're only learning about Ironwood over the last few weeks and such. The Pirate Chain is keeping up with their updates, and we will be moving to Ironwood shortly after Zcash. We're working on our implementation now, so we will have that formal verification, the same formal verification that Zcash has. So, but yeah, that is the major drawback of privacy coins, because with a transparent blockchain, anyone at any time could go and audit the entire chain and see how many coins are in circulation. But if you can't see the transactions, you can't see the wallet balances, then there's no way to do that. So that is a drawback for privacy coins. But in my opinion, and a lot of people say that's a non-starter, so they won't use them because of that. But in my opinion, the fact that everything is transparent on transparent blockchains is like a non-starter. Like, I'll use transparent blockchains for some things, but I'm not going to use it for my day-to-day transacting. I don't, need my barista knowing my wallet balances and following following my money everywhere after I go and spend $5 at their coffee shop. So for me, it's not having privacy is a non-starter. So, and we are figuring out more and more ways all the time to ensure that the coins aren't being inflated after they are shielded. So it's something I don't worry too much about, because there's been so many advancements in zero knowledge proofs that I'm pretty confident in the supply of Pirate Chain and of Zcash for that matter.
Because I assume you're familiar with that news in Zcash. I think it was like a month ago now, where there was that,
Yes.
I don't know, some pool or something like that.
Yeah, there
Go ahead.
was a inflation bug in their orchard pool that from all the evidence indicates that it was not exploited. I guess there's no way to prove that at this time. But as they move to Ironwood, as people move their coins so whenever you launch a new privacy pool, you essentially get a new address, and you have to just do a transaction to move your coins from the old pool to the new pool. So as they're moving from Orchard to Ironwood, they're doing what's called a turnstile, where everything essentially goes through a transparent address as it gets put into the shielded pool, so that they can count all the coins. So we will know in the coming weeks if it was exploited. I don't see any indication that it was. Like, nobody found. Multiple firms audited the Orchard code as well as the Zcash team. Nobody found this bug until that latest version of Claude came out, and they found it on the day it came out, essentially, and patched it immediately. So I don't think this was something that a human could even find. You needed AI to do it, and they got it patched the day that version of Claude came out, because they had ran the past versions of Claude through it too, and they did not find this bug until I think it was like 3.8 or something like that came out. And that day it was able to find it, and they patched the code within days and pushed it all the miners and stuff. So I don't see any indication that it was exploited, especially if you see the price action of Zcash during that same time period. Zcash has been like on a crazy bull run for the past year. I feel like if there was an inflation bug in there, the price would have been affected because people have been minting coins and going and dumping on exchanges and stuff. So I don't think there's any indication that it was ever exploited, and I'm pretty confident it wasn't, but we will have confirmation of that in the coming weeks. As far as Pirate Chain's relevance to that, we actually did not launch our Orchard pool yet. We were still on the previous pool, which is Sapling. Um, uh, and we actually had finished our Orchard implementation and we were getting ready to go live with it. It was in public testnet for the past few months when this happened. But after this happened, we really saw no point in launching the Orchard pool since the Ironwood pool was so close to being released. So we were just going straight from Sapling to Ironwood rather than implementing Orchard. So PirateChain was never exposed to this bug. We never had any risk of it being vulnerable to it. And we're just moving straight to Ironwood now. So it's not something that affected us at all. So we kind of got lucky in that sense that we never launched Orchard. But now we're just going straight to Ironwood, and it worked out well because we had all of our ducks in a row ready for a new, pool launch and doing everything that is required for that. Now we just don't have to do it for Orchard. We just got to do it for Ironwood, which makes things a lot quicker for us to implement on Ironwood because we're already ready to go live with a new pool. So luckily we weren't affected.
What do these pools mean? Like, are there like you're going to Ironwood? Is it just that's just one pool? Everybody has to move to it, and like, what if you don't move to it? What if you're not in that pool? How do these pools work?
Well, you don't have to move to them. You can it's essentially the pool is, from a user perspective, a pool is just a new address. It's a new address, and all the funds get mixed in. I don't know. I guess a pool is a good word for it. It all gets put in one pool where nothing can be seen. And every pool, when Zcash first launched, they launched on a pool called Sprout, and then they moved to Sapling, and then Orchard, and now Ironwood. And for every pool, they've been making upgrades. When Zcash first launched, the Sprout pool, they had to do what was called a trusted setup. So essentially, I believe it was like 74 or so. I don't remember the exact number, but a bunch of people participated in it. In order to launch a ZK Snark's privacy pool, there had to essentially be a private key that was used to launch the pool. So the way they did this is they took that private key, they cut it up into 74 pieces, and I believe it's 74. I might be wrong about that number, but they gave it to all these different people had a portion of that key, and they all together came together and launched the pool that way. And so the only way that the privacy could be compromised is if all 74 members colluded and put their keys together to be able to reveal the transactions on it. And they did this in a very secure way. A lot of the participants live streamed it, and a lot of them destroyed their devices after they launched it. There's some cool videos out there of people like lighting their computers on fire after the pool launched. And even like Edward Snowden was one of the participants in it and stuff. So I was never really that concerned about collusion, but they were able to fix that with Orchard. They were able to launch a new pool without having to have that private key essentially to launch the pool. So they could do they did not have the trusted setup. I mean, that's what people call it. It's kind of a derogatory term, I guess. That's not what we'd call it ourselves, but the trusted setup, the new pool didn't need that. So it was always a big point of FUD for Zcash and for PirateChain that we required this trusted setup where a handful of people had these keys that could potentially reveal the privacy if they all colluded or didn't destroy their keys. So that was the major upgrade going into Orchard, was that we didn't need that trusted setup. And now the big upgrade going into Ironwood is that they can see, I'm not an expert on this still. I'm still learning about Ironwood, but they have some way to cryptographically verify that there is no inflation bugs in the code. So that's the big upgrade for Ironwood. So every new pool they create, there is some pretty massive upgrades to each one. And the process of migrating to a new pool is essentially you upgrade your wallet software, and then you create a new address, and it'll be a address for the new pool, and you do a transaction from the old pool into the new one. And the way PirateChain is doing it, you'll be able to move back, like we're going from Sapling to Ironwood, and you can go back and forth between pools if you want. You'll be able to move your funds over into Ironwood, And then if for some reason you want to, you could move them back to sapling. I don't really see any reason why you would. But you could potentially move them back to sapling. So you have control of your funds and you don't really have a time limit. So if you're not paying attention to your wallet for 10 years or something, and then you try to go and access your funds, there's a good chance all the new exchanges and stuff like that will be expecting Ironwood transactions, but all you'll have to do is update your wallet and do a transaction from sapling over to Ironwood with a very small transaction fee, and that's all you have to do to get in the new pool. The new pool is essentially each one just comes out with some upgrades from the previous one.
Denny, did you have a?
When you change pools, like you go to sapling to Ironwood, so your address changes, right? Like that you would. Is that what that means?
Yes, you'll get a new address.
Okay,
but if you still have your old address and somebody sends some funds to it, to a sapling address, you still have access to it, and you can just do move it to your Ironwood pool after that.
I understand. Okay, so in the very beginning, you talked about someone named Amy. Is that the same Amy who's in the Telegram group with us?
Yes, it is. Yeah, she's awesome.
Okay,
she does a ton for the project.
I met her in Las Vegas, right? And this is why we're talking today. Shout out to Amy. Hi, Amy. How you doing? She's the one that brought us together. So that just goes to your point, Daniel, the power of attending conferences. So, I like what you said in the very beginning is just getting active, getting involved. And I think one of the best ways to get your foot in the door is to attend a conference and forming that human-to-human connection. That's so powerful, right? Because, just speaking avatars, there's always that human element there. So just want to shout out Amy there for actually making this happen. So she's absolutely fantastic. Okay, so we talked about Ironwood. We talked about the different addresses. On Pirate Chain specifically, what do you see after Ironwood? What do you see as the big thing for Pirate Chain? Are you guys going to improve the chain to have more transactions per second, things like that, like general improvements? What's the roadmap?
Yeah. Well, after Ironwood, we are looking, and this isn't just up to the team or a decentralized project, so it's what the community wants to do too. The community funds things. So if we have an initiative we want to do or some upgrade we want to do, we have to announce it to the community and then fundraise for it. And if the community wants to see it happen, they raise the funds. And if they don't, the funds don't get raised and we don't do it. So that's essentially how our team works for making decisions on what we're going to do. The community essentially votes with what they are donating to, what they want to see happen. But after Ironwood, we are working. The next big thing we're working on are some new wallets that we created that they're actually in testing right now, beta. You can go and download them at github.com/pirate network. And it's a unified wallet that is the same on all platforms, all mobile and desktop platforms. And we made some significant improvements, most especially to the syncing time. Because I don't know if you guys have used privacy coins a lot, but that has been one of the major drawbacks with privacy coins is they take a long time to sync compared to a transparent blockchain. Because for the transparent blockchain, your wallet software can essentially just go look at the blockchain and see where all the coins are, what addresses they're at, so they can see what coins are in your address just about instantly. The privacy chain, they can't do that because nothing is visible on the blockchain. So they actually have to go and scan the entire blockchain and decrypt any of the data that is relevant to your wallet. So they actually have to go through it block by block. And if you haven't had your wallet open for a while, or if you're launching a new wallet or trying to run a full node, it can take some time to scan that. But some of our team members have made some incredible improvements to the syncing time. It is so much faster on these new wallets, which we're really, really excited about, as well as just making them way more usable. They made a really beautiful UI and has lots and lots of cool features. It's we're trying to make it as simple for an everyday user to use, but with also all of the features that an advanced user would expect. For example, like Tor is on by default. You're connecting to Tor by default whenever you download the wallet and start using it. Tor is automatically on. You can go and toggle it off. I think they also put I2P support in there, but I think I2P, the network's been having some problems with attacks and stuff like that. So I don't know if that'll be enabled. But Tor, right away, as soon as you download the wallet and open it, Tor will be enabled. You have to go and toggle it off if you want to improve your wallet speed or something like that. You can go toggle it off. But we do encourage users to leave it on. It also has automatic rotating addresses. So every time you go to receive a transaction. It gives you a new address to give you, so your address doesn't get out there to people you've done business with in the past and things like that. So that's the next major thing we're super excited about. And it is actually in beta. Anybody can go and test it out at Pirate Network or github.com/Pirate Network. And right now it's just titled Unified Wallet. We are trying to think of a cool name for it, but it's just calling it Unified Wallet right now. And then after that, we do have some proposals we're going to make to the community and essentially like let them choose what we do next going forward. But there's been a lot of talk about, security like a finality layer. Because right now we're using something called delayed proof of work. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. We are a standard proof of work blockchain. We work just like any other proof of work blockchain, but we did add this extra layer of security called DPoW, where essentially Pirate Chain transactions, they're validated on the Pirate Chain blockchain, which is an Equihash blockchain. So it's validated just like any other chain. But then every 10 blocks, it is also validated to Litecoin's blockchain. So essentially, they put a transaction into the Litecoin blockchain every 10 blocks. So in order to 51% attack Pirate Chain's blockchain, you also have to have 51% of the Litecoin's hash rate, because whatever chain is validated to Litecoin's blockchain every 10 blocks, it will automatically revert to that. So even if somebody gets 51% of Pirate Chain's hash power, the chain will automatically revert to whatever one has been validated to the Litecoin blockchain. So that's kind of been our finality layer that gave us really good security and protected us from 51% attacks, since Litecoin has such a high hash rate, relatively. But it is dependent on another project called Komodo. I'm sorry, were you saying something?
Yeah, sorry, Daniel. Why did you pick Litecoin and not Bitcoin?
Because Litecoin transaction fees are cheaper, and we're doing so. Bitcoin, especially when we moved, we were originally doing it to Bitcoin, but I believe it was like 2022, 2023, somewhere around there. Bitcoin fees were super high, and the validator nodes, the nodes that were validating to it, they had to pay for a transaction every 10 minutes, essentially, on the chain, and there was dozens of these validator nodes, not just one of them. So the cost was adding up for these nodes, and people were losing incentive to validate, because any rewards they got were being offset by the high transaction fees on Bitcoin. Now, since then, Bitcoin transaction fees have came down quite a bit, but at the time they were really high, and Litecoins seemed like a balance of a high hash rate with an affordable transaction fee on it. So that's why we chose Litecoin.
Cool. Sorry, I interrupted you. Keep going.
Yeah. But this has been dependent on another project called Komodo. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but they are an incredible project. I've been part of their community for a long time. I found them after I found Pirate Chain. But they have quite several different services they offer. They were one of the very first atomic swap DEXs. They actually might have been the first. Don't quote me on this, but they were one of the very first atomic swap DEXs, and they built the very first atomic swaps for ZK Snarks. They built them for Pirate Chain, and then went ahead and did it for Zcash too. But then they offered this delayed proof of work service also, where their validator nodes would validate your chains to another chain, Bitcoin and then Litecoin eventually. But it's kind of dependent on the success of their project, and so we're exploring ways to kind of do the same thing but independently. And we haven't made any decisions on it or anything like that, but we don't want our success of our project to be dependent on the success of another project, which is not really dependent, because we're just a proof of work blockchain. We could just drop at any time and work as a proof of work blockchain. But we're looking into solutions for having some sort of validation layer or something like that. We're not really looking at proof of stake or anything like that, but just something to make us secure, because Monero, the attack on Monero, I believe it was last summer, the cubic attack. I don't know if you guys paid attention to that, but yep. Monero came really close to a devastating 51% attack. Their hash power was getting up there with this other chain, cubic, that was merge mining with Monero and was almost able to overtake the chain and reorganize blocks. And so we're like, holy cow, if a chain as big as Monero can be vulnerable to this, then Could Pirate Chain ever potentially be vulnerable to this too? And I think it's something that every proof of work blockchain's got to contend with right now, including Bitcoin. Like none of the blockchains are having as many transaction fees as we all imagined they would. I don't think Satoshi ever thought that Bitcoin was going to be worth $125,000 a coin with empty blocks and nobody using it. He assumed that if it was that valuable, it would be because people are using that. They saw the network valuable and they were using the network. That's not the case. People are just buying Bitcoin and holding it and never doing anything with it, or sitting in ETF wallets or on exchanges or something like that. So it's not generating the transaction fees. And as the Coinbase rewards are dwindling on every proof of work blockchain, those transaction fees have got to take the place, or the security is going to be compromised. So something that every proof of work blockchain has to contend with. These blockchains are very, very valuable, worth millions or billions, or sometimes even trillions in the case of Bitcoin. But the transaction fees are not justifying that. So it's something that everyone's going to contend with. So it's something we're looking at there. But essentially, it's open to the community what we do next. My main goal with Pirate Chain is just to make it usable and onboard as many people as possible to it. So I really want to hear from the merchants out there and see what their opinions are, what we can do to make Pirate Chain more usable for them. Maybe some sort of POS software. I'd like to eventually get somewhere where maybe even a group of privacy coins create some like really, really great and really usable point of sale software. Because that's my goal. I want to get merchants onboarded and get them accepting Pirate Chain and Monero, so we have more places to shop and use this kind of stuff. So it's essentially up to the community.
I'm glad you brought that up. We have a team that's very familiar with THORChain. They're called Mocha, and they have a point of sale application that actually just got released in testing phase. And that's how it works, right? You go into a store. If you're selling something, what asset do you take? How do you know what's worth? And what's cool is they use the decentralized pools of like THORChain and Maya Chain, which is Maya protocol, I should say, which is a fork of THORChain. But let's say you're using Bitcoin, or let's just say Pirate Chain, and the vendor wants to settle in stables, right? So your Pirate Chain R, would get transferred to stables, and the merchant would get it, and then you have a good or service you can buy. So that is being worked on. So that might be a good way, if you get on THORChain, that might be, you might have your foot in the door right there. But my main question was, you talked about, making a proposal to the community. I was just wondering on Pirate Chain, how does governance work? Like how does that specifically work? Like who are you proposing to? Are these like the validators, or like, is there some sort of voting mechanism with R? Go ahead.
No, there is no voting mechanism. Essentially the same as Bitcoin. If like our team or any other team out there has been other groups and companies that have contributed to Pirate Chain. It's not just our team, and there are other groups that are still contributing to it. Our team is just like the most prevalent. But essentially works the same. We propose an upgrade, we make an upgrade, people accept it or they don't. If they don't upgrade to it, then the chain will potentially fork. We've been very lucky in Pirate Chain's history that we have not really had a contentious hard fork. People have forked the chain, but not really in a way that was like splitting the community, like the community infighting and then going two different directions. It's just, there's been a couple other chains that have launched the one to use Pirate Chain's privacy, but make a few changes to it. So we've been lucky so far that we have not had a contentious hard fork like it's happened to Bitcoin so many times and is about to happen again with Bitcoin. But essentially our governance is the same as theirs. The miners and people running full nodes, if they update their wallets to the new software we put out, then that's how they vote. They vote by upgrading it. And luckily, everybody's been happy with everything we've put out so far, so we haven't had anything contentious happen. So, but no, we don't have any voting mechanism. And governance in crypto is a big experiment right now. Like, I don't think anybody's truly figured out how to govern it in a fair way. Voting is one solution a lot of people have, implemented, but it's not perfect. There's been a ton of problems with that. So it's a big experiment. We're always paying attention to, what other chains are doing and trying to take the best ideas that they have and implement them for Pirate Chain. But as of right now, we're essentially governed in the same way as Bitcoin or Litecoin or any of the older, pure proof of work, fair launch blockchains out there.
Yeah, decentralization is great for security, but it's awful for governance.
And it's so hard.
Yeah, it is. Like it's funny when you have people complain, well, why don't you guys fix this or do that? It's like, guys, we're actually decentralized. Like, it's hard to herd all these cats and get everybody on board, and then find the one person who actually can do something, and then convince the nodes to approve it. It's like
Yeah.
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's all big one
Yeah.
big experiment still. It's still an
Yeah.
experiment. Still figuring
Yeah.
things out. So,
I want to bring it back to the point of sale stuff, and like you mentioned before, the drawback of privacy tokens, that it takes a while for a wallet to load your balance. Um, like, but I keep reading that Monero is like one of the most used cryptos in the sector, sometimes even more used than Bitcoin. So like, and I'm not sure about Zcash or Pirate Chain, how you guys do. But I'm assuming for actual real world use, the privacy tokens are actually used more than everything else. And is that in spite of these wallets taking a while to load? Like, that's how much demand there is for privacy, that people
yeah.
are willing to have their wallets slow to load, take forever to confirm a transaction. Like, is the demand for privacy that high?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, because people are waking up, that, using transparent blockchains for just day-to-day business can be very dangerous, especially with like the wrench attacks we're seeing and stuff like that. But also I want to I think the people that you're getting all this volume at businesses with Monero and Chain and other privacy coins, I think that's coming from people who are really into crypto and they use crypto regularly, and when they're making purchases and stuff, they use a privacy coin. When they're doing DeFi or something else, or trying to save, they may use Bitcoin or some DeFi product or something like that. But I think when they're going to buy something, they just use a privacy coin because it gives them privacy. So, and those type of people are type of people that have their wallets open regularly or on a daily basis. Like if you have your wallet open regularly, it's the same with Chain and Monero. Like if you open up your wallet once a week, it only has to sync from the last time you had it open. So, yeah, so it only takes a couple seconds if I open it once a week. If I open it up every day, it's essentially synced by the time the screen loads and is open and stuff. It's only when you start a new wallet, or if you don't use your wallet for 2 years or something, then you're going to be sitting, if it's a light wallet, you're going to be sitting there for like 15 minutes while it syncs. But if you've had it open recently, then you just got to sync from the last time, and it's not that big of a deal. And also, there's a way to put we call a birthday height. So if you started your wallet a year ago, you don't necessarily need to go back and sync the entire blockchain. You can go set your birthday. So you started it in July 2025. You can just go back and select sync from July 2025. So you only have to sync the last year. You don't have to sync all the way from 2018. And that makes it a lot faster. But syncing is really only a problem if you're not using it regularly. For someone who opens up their wallet once a week or once a month or something, it's not that big of a deal. But when you update your wallets, any wallet you're using, even light wallets, you do have to resync, and that could take a few minutes. For Pirate Chain, if I like update my Edge wallet or something, it probably takes 10 minutes to sync after that, 10 to 20 minutes or so, depending on your internet speed and device. And then a full node wallet takes a long time to sync, but so does a Bitcoin full node wallet. Most people aren't running full nodes. So it's not that big of an issue if you're actually using it, but it is a problem for people who only touch their wallet once a year. They got to open up their wallet and sit there and let it load for 10 or 15 minutes. But the people that are using it to buy stuff are using, they have their Monero and Pirate Chain wallets open every day. So it's not really that big of a deal for them.
It's like a problem that solves itself, kind of. As there's more activity, you're more up to date all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's just always,
And there's some incredible research going on that I think in the future there will be, essentially instant sync for privacy chains as well. There's some incredible researchers associated with Zcash that are working on a project called THORChain, where essentially they'll make syncing instant, essentially, instead of having to go and scan the whole blockchain and decrypt every single proof, zero knowledge proof in the chain that's associated with your wallet. It essentially makes, the way they describe it to me is it's a proof of all the proofs. So you only have to, they take all your zero knowledge proofs, put that into a zero knowledge proof. So you only have to decrypt that one, which, takes a fraction of a second. So I think if they are successful what they're doing at THORChain, which obviously if it's something useful and doesn't compromise privacy or decentralization, then Pirate Chain will implement that also. But I think in the future, the syncing times is not going to be a problem for Pirate Chain, Zcash, or Monero, or any of them. I think there's a lot of cool solutions that are coming up and will be fixed in the future.
Yeah, man. It is something I always think about, crypto in general is still clunky, still hard to use. And I think it is an honest criticism for like when I have like talked to like normies or, people relatively new to crypto and like, oh, it's just so hard, no one's going to use it, blah, blah, blah. And I
Yeah,
actually kind of half agree. But then I just, if you grew up in the 90s, with dial up internet and it's like, man, the internet was just so clunky when it first came out. And it took a while. It took a good 10, 15 years. I mean, heck, Facebook didn't come out till like what 2002 or something. Like
it was later than that.
it was later, yeah. Like even in
Yeah,
2000, like I was making fun of my friends for having a cell phone in the year 2000. I'm like, ooh, look at you and your fancy cell phone. He had like a Nokia, and he's still doing the
yeah,
3 buttons to text, and like, and it took a while for it, for phones and the internet and everything to get as easy as it is today. So like, I think, like you said, there's all these smart people working on trying to solve this. And like, yeah, someone's going to figure this out and it's going to get easier. And it's just, in my mind, it's inevitable. And so it's,
yeah.
it's, it's pretty, yeah, great to hear that. Yeah. Sorry, go
Some
ahead.
Something we do have to stay vigilant to is UIs are becoming a lot better across the board for all chains, including privacy coins. But there also is these stable coins coming, stable coins that are starting to be accepted everywhere. And a lot of people are looking at these as crypto, and they really are building these things in a way that you really can't tell the difference whether you're just using Zelle or Venmo or something, but you're actually using stable coins. I think a lot of people can be convinced that when they're using stable coins or something similar like that, a centralized stable coin, that they're using crypto. Because centralization definitely makes things more usable. That's why crypto has struggled with usability for so long, because of the decentralization. If it's centralized, then it's easy to just fix these things and fix the UIs and do everything on the back end to make it easier. So I think a lot of people are being confused into thinking when they're using these centralized stable coins that are technically validated on a blockchain, that they're essentially using the same thing as Bitcoin or Monero or Pirate Chain, which I don't think is true. So we kind of got to stay vigilant to, convince people like, yeah, some of these chains are a little bit more clunky to use, but it is definitely worth it in the end to have, alternatives to fiat, because I think they're kind of using blockchain as a Trojan horse to sneak in these centralized stable coins that, spy on you all the time, are regulated by the government or backed by government debt. They literally, I mean, major stable coins literally are they're CBDCs essentially. They track and trace you. They can be frozen. They can be burned. And they are literally backed by government debt, just like fiat is. I think we got to stay vigilant and, tell people the benefits of cryptocurrency don't really uh, stable coins don't really bring you the true benefits of cryptocurrency, which is to escape the fiat establishment and to provide an alternative to money that works against you. So, but it's coming along so well, and I'm really excited about the future. Everything's getting easy, and it's not as hard as people make it sound. Downloading something like Edge Wallet and then securing your seed phrase is not that hard, and it is easier than starting a bank account. Like, just
Yeah.
full stop.
It's people they build it up in their head that it's harder than it is. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's a mental thing I think for most people.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like a psyop, I think, by these ETFs and stuff. Like a lot of people saying, like, "Oh, self custody is too difficult for your average person. They need to leave their Bitcoin in this ETF with us or something, or give it to custodians and stuff." And I'm like, that's just honestly not true at all. It is not harder to self custody your Bitcoin than it is to sign up with some brokerage and give them your ID and wait 3 days while they verify you, just to hold some Bitcoin on there. Like, all you have to do to self custody your Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency is go download Edge Wallet and write down your seed phrase. Go put your seed phrase in your safe. And that is infinitely easier than trying to buy an ETF on some brokerage or something like that. So I think it's kind of a psyop that the people that want to custody your funds with them are trying to convince you that it's too difficult, but it's really not. That's all it takes is download Edge Wallet, go secure your seed phrase, and your funds are safe.
yeah.
So,
Um, Yeah, I want to ask you about Trade Ogre and like any other like exchanges that Pirate Chain is on, and your
Yeah.
experiences with that. Have you had struggles? Is it hard to get listed? Yeah, maybe you can walk us through
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah, it is hard to get listed on centralized exchanges, but we've got enough that we're fine that anybody who wants to buy our chain can go and find it. We're on MEXC, CoinEx, Gate, um, SafeTrade. Uh, we're on quite a few. I do miss Trade Ogre though, man. Trade Ogre was my favorite centralized exchange ever. I love
Yeah.
that place so much. So we're on plenty of them, and then we're also on, Komodo wallets, Atomic Swap DEX. But I think, moving forward, we need to be more focused on getting on DEXs just because these exchange, even Kraken, I've heard rumors that Kraken is cracking down on Monero, like withdrawals and deposits. Like you only do a few
Yep.
$1,000s a day and stuff like that. I don't know if they're doing that in anticipation of eventually delisting it. I hope not, because Kraken has stood up and refused to delist Monero for so long. It would be really devastating if they decided to. But we're at the point in all privacy coins, essentially, that we're at the point where we're just not going to rely on these centralized exchanges. We're trying to build alternatives. We would love to get on THORChain DEX. And there's several other DEXs that have mentioned adding Pirate Chain. I haven't got any official confirmation from them, but I would love to get on some of the basic swap and Sarai and obviously THORChain. THORChain's the biggest cross chain DEX out there, so that would be amazing to get on there. But that's kind of got to be our position going forward. That we're not really concerned with the centralized. If a centralized exchange wants to list us, sure, we'll love it. We'll help you guys. Our developers will walk you through it. Doing ZK Snarks integrations is more difficult than some chains. So, we'd love to be on any of your centralized exchanges, but we're not going to beg for it. We're not going to compromise our privacy to do it. And we're building alternatives. There's DEXs you can buy it on, and we're just going to start using there. And lots of swap services too. There's like a Manila. I can't even name them all, but there's a bunch of swap services out there that you can swap Pirate Chain with, but they are centralized. They're not decentralized. But yeah, we need to just be looking for DEXs going forward, and the DEXs are getting more usable all the time, which is great about THORChain. You guys have a very good UI. It's very usable, and I feel like just about anybody could use it. It only takes a little while to learn. So I would love to get Pirate Chain on THORChain and stop relying on these centralized exchanges and stop begging them to not delist us.
Are you
Yeah.
talking about swap.thorchain.org, that UI?
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that.
I think I've used most of the DEXs out there, and some of them are very clunky. And I think yours is better.
Thanks, man. I didn't pay Daniel to say that. I'm behind that. I've been working with the devs, solvable wallet devs, to build that, and they've been fantastic. And us going back and forth. I'm quite proud of it. I'm glad you say that, because I do think the UI is pretty good. We're trying to simplify as much as we can. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, dude, let's talk about getting Pirate Chain on THORChain. Have you guys reached out to anyone at THORChain in the past? Have you looked into it at all in the past?
I do not know. That's normally that kind of like business development stuff is normally handled by Cosius and Hossein. So there's a good chance they have reached out, but then I mean they might not have also. So I am not positive, but I would love to get on there. I don't know what it takes, but we have developers that'll help you guys with the integration or whatever you need. We'd love to make that happen.
Well, I'll walk you through it. So, and maybe just give you a bit of history. Just so I was wondering if you have reached out in the past, because things have changed. So, like, one of my initial interests in THORChain was the promise of getting Monero. That I thought it would be, this is huge to have, privacy coins on a real DEX. And it was kind of being worked on, looked at. And then the Tornado Cash dev, Roman Storm, I think is that his name. He,
Yeah.
he was kidnapped, thrown in a cage, right? And everyone in the THORChain community kind of freaked out that, like, this is back in the Biden administration when they're really heavy hand on crypto, and the devs were freaking out about, nobody wants to go to jail. They don't stick their neck out to have, to be supporting privacy on THORChain. And so it was kind of put on the back burner. Plus, it was technically not possible. We couldn't actually figure out how to do Monero yet. So no, we just weren't there. And that was, I think, 2022. I think, Denny, I think it was that summer. And
Yeah, and just a little context. Sorry, Kenton. Those devs who were scared, most of them are no longer with the project. Go ahead, Kenton.
yeah. So I was gonna say, so I was 4 years ago now. THORChain as a community and developers have all evolved and changed. And what really kind of set the tone for THORChain was the Bybit hack in last February, when 1.5 billion ETH went through THORChain back and forth 4 times. And everyone was kind of freaking out a bit, like, are we going to get in trouble? Are people going to get arrested? Is anything going to happen? You know, we're not laundering, but it is illicit funds going through, right? And it's like the biggest hack in history, basically. And so nothing happened. And there was some devs or nodes that did want to censor, but the majority did not. And so since then, I think it's been very clear in the THORChain community and the nodes and the devs that we are pro privacy, no censorship, permissionless, like the real ethos. And so now there's like this renewed like fervor to like, we need to get Monero, we need to get the privacy coins, we need to be cypherpunk. And so one of our community members who stepped up, you know, just contributing, figured out how to get Monero on THORChain several months ago. And so that's happening. Zcash has been in the works now for the last few months. We're going to add Dash afterwards. And then, you know, so pretty quickly, and we've been talking to Firo, Zeno, forgive me if I'm missing some of the other privacy coins.
I think that's all of them.
But pretty quickly, like, we're going to become the privacy coin DEX. And so we'd love to have Pirate Chain. You know, we like want to have all of you guys. And so there's that will now in the community, in the nodes, in the devs to support privacy coins. And yeah, and I don't, you know, we have actually be interested in your thoughts on this, Daniel, because within the THORChain community, like, everyone is pro privacy, believes in freedom, all kind of stuff. But at the same time, we're all worried about, you know, poking the beast, you know, getting the eye of Sauron on us. And like this is real freedom tech, right? And we're truly changing the world here. And, you know, Big Brother doesn't want us to change the world, right? So some people are concerned if THORChain supports all these privacy coins, you know, real no KYC, real permissionless, no censorship, are we going to get, you know, people get arrested or whatever? I feel like we're pretty good. I think we're fine because THORChain itself doesn't obfuscate anything. Like, if we have Pirate Chain on THORChain, all the same data that's recorded on a Bitcoin transaction is going to be recorded on a Pirate Chain transaction. Any obfuscation would occur on the Pirate Chain blockchain. And so, in theory, THORChain should have some plausible deniability, like, where we're not actually obfuscating anything. So I'm curious your thoughts on, like, you know, pushing forward and how do we, you know, stand up to Big Brother, and if you guys have experienced any if you guys has any been charged or gone to jail, and how do you think we fight? You know, how do we do this?
Well, I think THORChain and Pirate Chain, for that matter, I think you guys are in a pretty safe spot in comparison to something like Samurai or Tornado, because, you know, Samurai and Tornado, they were the same people who published the code were collecting fees for you know, mixing your coins with Samurai and with Tornado. And that was, I'm not an attorney or anything like that, but from my understanding, that was the big thing that was able to have them charged for it, was they were, you know, they deployed the code and they were charging the fee as a service. I think you're pretty safe at THORChain, whereas the people collecting the fees aren't necessarily the same people that are deploying the code, you know, and especially so for the developers themselves, I think they're pretty safe because, you know, the Supreme Court has already ruled that code is speech, and that speech is, you know, we have free speech in the United States, and that writing code is free speech. It doesn't, you know, doesn't matter what it says. You writing numbers on a screen is free, is free speech, and publishing that to the internet is free speech, and people deploy it and do what they want with that code. But I think in Pirate Chain's case, especially, you know, the people that are pushing the code to GitHub aren't the people that are collecting transaction fees on, you know, transactions if criminals are using the chain to try to do something. So I think Pirate Chain is safe. And from the way I understand THORChain works, I guess there is a chance that, you know, someone who's writing the code could also be like a validator on your network or something, collecting transaction fees. But I think you are pretty safe as long as, um, you know, the people writing the code and publishing the code don't have like a monopoly on the fees for the service, you know? So I think you guys are in a relatively safe spot, but who knows what, you know, the Supreme Court does they rule all kinds of things constitutional that I find unconstitutional. So I don't know what the future will look like. But I think it's important that as of right now, I think THORChain and Pirate Chain and Monero, we're all 100% compliant with, you know, the law here in the U.S. at least. You know, criminals can use the chain, but that's not mine or your problem. You know, but who knows if that's going to change in the future. So I think our one good defense against that in the future is to just onboard as many people as possible where it becomes infeasible for them to ever enforce this. And not just we need to onboard a ton of Americans, but then we also need to onboard a ton of people from other parts of the country, or not world country, parts of the world, so that it essentially becomes unstoppable and infeasible to try to stop it in the same way that file sharing or something has become infeasible to try to enforce, and they've essentially given up on it. So I think the one defense we're good in the short term. I think in the long term, the one major defense we have is to just try to get as many people using these technologies as possible, so that it becomes infeasible to try to enforce it or to lock people in jail or something like that, you know, which it is scary. We're trying to fight for freedom here, and it does get, you know, get to a point like we all have families and stuff, and it does get to a point where you're like, this is what I believe in. I'm ready to go to jail for it and stand up for what I believe in. But at the same time, you got to feed your family, and you don't want to leave kids at home with no parents or something like that. So it is a difficult decision for each individual to say, like, where do I put my foot down? Where do I give in? And I don't judge anybody for, you know, not fighting as hard as somebody else does and not willing to sacrifice everything to do it. But we do need some people that are willing to sacrifice it all to stand up and say, you know, we're taking our privacy back, we're taking our freedom back, we're taking our money back, and we're going to have we're going to have money that doesn't spy on us and money that's not controlled by a centralized authority that makes us poorer and keeps us in debt. We do have to have some of those hardcore people. So I think what we got to do, we just got to onboard more people. And there's a call to the communities for everybody, whether you're in a privacy coin community or not, the THORChain community and even the Bitcoin community. We need to, you know, we need to onboard people. We need to stop this infighting, and we need to onboard people to protect ourselves in the future, because who knows what the court systems are going to do in the future. So I think that's our major defense, is just getting more people on our side.
I totally
Very
agree.
well said.
Yeah,
Very
very
well
well said. Yeah. Even Bitcoiners and gold bugs fighting with each other. I'm like, guys, we're on the same team.
Dude,
Like,
yeah,
you know, like, it
drives
doesn't
me
have to
nuts.
be either or. So like, yeah. But so yeah, it's back to THORChain. You guys getting listed. So I'll walk you through it a bit. If your devs are willing to put in the work to help us create the chain client, then that would be good. The other one is providing liquidity. So
Yeah,
we're moving away from. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen where we're going to stop giving rewards to liquidity pools. Like there's going to be no yield. And
okay.
just the way THORChain currently actually works, the pools haven't been getting any yield for like the last several months anyway. And so we're going to move, I think, more towards protocol-owned liquidity, where instead of giving yield to liquidity providers, the protocol is just going to contribute yield into the pool itself and own the liquidity in the pools. And but we have a chicken and egg problem. If it's a brand new pool, where does that liquidity come from? And
Yeah,
so for a new token like Pirate Chain, we would our hope is that you guys would provide the liquidity similar to a SEX. It's like a cost. You know,
yeah,
you got to put in 20, 30 grand. But at least, and it's really all you need to start. You know, if you want
yeah,
to do more, you can do more. just however much liquidity, you need in that pool.
Yeah,
But 25 grand to start should be more than enough. And then, but
that's a
you still
reasonable
own it,
amount.
and you still own it,
Yeah,
right? So like, if you want to pull it out at some point, you can. It's not a fee that goes to us or the devs or anything like that.
yeah,
We're not arbitrarily dumping it on you, right? It's following the XYK curve, what normal trading. So we're
yeah,
not a market maker dumping your token. Your cost becomes, so even though you still own it, your cost will become the impermanent loss in the pool because it's paired with the rune token.
yeah,
So, maybe after a year, maybe you're down 20% or something because of impermanent loss. And
yeah.
and again, it's only when if you withdraw it. If you leave it,
Mm.
then right. So that's it,
So,
man. Those are the two main things.
for providing liquidity, would when you get listed on an exchange, they require you to provide liquidity for both coins in the pair. Like they want you to
Yeah.
give them stable. Would we have to also provide liquidity in the Rune token, or would it just be Pirate Chain that we would have to provide
That's
liquidity
right.
for?
The rune token as well. So you'd have to have, if you put 25 grand in the pool, that'd be 12.5K of rune, 12.5K of pirate chain.
Okay, that's
And
reasonable. Like I feel
yeah,
like we could. I feel like we could get that done no problem. I mean, the Pirate Chain side wouldn't be an issue at all. I'm sure we have whales and stuff that are willing to contribute to see Pirate Chain. More places it's listed, usually the better the price performs. So I don't think that'd be a problem. I feel like that's something we could accomplish either, just raising funds with our team or reaching out to our community to raise funds. I feel like that's something we could happen, especially if we just need like 15 to 30K. I think that'd be reasonable and we can make that happen.
yeah.
What's really cool is as Kenton was talking about the POL, is that so you deposit that initial liquidity, right? When you talk about withdrawal, is like we're going to a POL only mechanism where the protocol starts putting liquidity into the pools themselves, and that's owned by the protocol. It never leaves unless it would take a consensus of validators to do a migration of funds. But
Yeah.
more or less it never leaves. And what's cool about that is the POL is always burn pressure as asset gets added to the pool. So that's always buying Pirate Chain. And so let's say you add 25K, the POL, like let's say everyone loves Pirate Chain, there's a lot of activities, and at some point, there's 100K of POL. Well, then you'd be more than fine to withdraw your
Yeah.
liquidity at that point if you so choose. So that's kind of the cool thing. It's like with POL, whatever asset we add, it's buy pressure for that asset because it's liquidity that gets bought and sold. It's never sold. So it's kind of
Yeah.
a cool system. It's just
So,
that initial starting point.
so since you guys are moving away from giving rewards to liquidity pools, does it still work in a way where like anybody could, like we could call out to our community and be like, "Hey guys, we're trying to build this liquidity pool. Please go deposit in the liquidity pool."
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't have to come from one source. Was my question, right?
No, yeah.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we'll have warnings on, actually, maybe if there isn't already a warning, I got to add it to just, basically if you're contributing to a pool, you're only getting impermanent loss. There's no yield.
It's altruistic.
Yeah. So yeah, it'd be altruistic basically. Right. Um, so yeah, no,
I don't think
anyone
it.
can,
Yeah,
yeah.
especially with that, I don't think it'd be I don't think it'd be a problem. We have a very vibrant community, and these guys are freaking hardcore as hell. So I think if we got on THORChain, we'd get plenty of people going over there and depositing some coins to contribute.
Maybe I'll just take a second to explain why we did this POL thing. Is so on THORChain, we don't want, so the whole ethos of THORChain, no third party contingencies, whatever. We have no centralized point of failure, whether it's an API endpoint, whether, it's a centralized team. We don't want, it has to be completely decentralized. Before we had liquidity providers, I was a liquidity provider back in the day, and they would earn fees. But we would see is like with liquidity providers, they can add or withdraw. Right. And so that is a variable that we can't control. Right. And so let's say like there's a big FUD event or who knows, just you can make up any example. You could have a situation where liquidity providers withdraw liquidity. On THORChain, we
Mhm.
need to have liquidity. It doesn't need to be deep, too deep. We have excellent price execution, but the POL is our way to say, okay, this liquidity is always going to be there. There will always be liquidity for people to swap in and out of the asset. So that's kind of the thinking. So if there's anyone in the pirate chain like, why would you not have liquidity? That's why. And so
Okay.
the POL being the protocol, it's protected by the decentralized validator set, right? And we just think, I personally think this is used to be an LP, that is a far more robust design for having infrastructure that cannot be captured, right? Because there's no the party is THORChain, if that makes sense. And additionally,
and again, I'll add to it too, Danny. So like, you might be wondering, well, 25 grand pool, how good could that be? I mean, you can do a $25,000 trade on a $25,000 pool with negligible slippage, because the way trading works on THORChain, it might take it could take several hours for the trade to execute, but just with all our our gimmicks, it makes it easy for arbitrageurs to arb the price between THORChain and all those other exchanges, all the sexes you mentioned. And so the THORChain pool has become very capital efficient. So yeah, we've seen trades larger than the pool size itself with like less than 1% slippage.
Wow,
Like,
that is incredible.
yeah. So it really doesn't take a lot, and forgive me, I don't know what the trading's like in Pirate Chain, but I'm assuming there isn't a ton of 6-figure trades going on. It's probably like, most chains, it's
Yeah.
always like several thousand, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so should easily be able to handle the majority of your volumes with a modest size pool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as the volume grows, we can more people contribute, it's running
Yeah.
liquidity. A lot of people are just holding on to their coins, for the future anyways. Might as well contribute that way. So that is really
Well, it's cool.
incredible. You can do such big trades with such low slippage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool, especially the rapid swaps. That's actually, Kenton, I don't know if you noticed, we recently increased it from 2 to 3. These are intra-block swaps for arbitrageurs. Dan, don't want to get too complicated, but it's just getting better and better. And what's so cool is like when the POL itself is so deep, and not even that deep, right? We're not talking about like millions of dollars here. Then we don't need a liquidity provider from Chain. Then the liquidity is always there for anyone in the world to access to use.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kenton. I think I stepped on you a little bit.
No, I
if you
didn't.
wanted to
No,
add
that's
something.
good. I was just gonna maybe just simplify for Daniel. Basically, we're just breaking the trade up into a bunch of tiny little trades, and each tiny little trade has very little slippage, and so then you just add them all up at the So that's why it can take minutes or hours to do the full trade, because you're actually doing a bunch of tiny little trades every block.
Yeah. Yeah, I've read about it. And so I see the headlines whenever there's a big swap on THORChain and stuff. They do these big swaps on with Bitcoin or something, and there's very little slippage. It's always impressed me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's often the size of the swap is bigger than the pool itself, which is like freaking mind blowing when you think about it. I think our biggest swap ever was that $30-something million swap, and I think it was I can't remember if it was Bitcoin to Ethereum or vice versa, but the Ethereum pool, the swap itself, one of the swaps was 3x the size of the Ethereum pool, and it was sub 1% slippage, if I remember correctly. It's just
Wow.
it's freaking crazy. Yeah, that's just how good streaming swaps and arbitrageurs have become. Real quick, Daniel, I know node operators on THORChain, they're going to be watching this, okay? And so one question I like to pose, I know it's a proof of work chain, so probably it's not going to be expensive, but what does it cost to run a daemon? What are the hardware requirements? Could you break that down real quick?
For like running a full node?
Like full node, yeah, a full daemon
You just really just 4 gigabytes of RAM. I think our blockchain is like 50 some gigabytes or something like that. It's not too massive. And then ZK Snarks transactions, you do need 4 gigabytes of RAM in order to validate a transaction. So that's essentially, the only requirement.
Pretty light.
Yeah.
Pretty
yeah.
light. Perfect.
So it's
awesome.
not that big a deal. So, but you do have to have that 4 gigabytes, even on a mobile or even on a light wallet, you still got to have 4 gigabytes of RAM. So that's just one of the drawbacks to ZK Snarks, but almost everything has at least that now. So it's not really a big issue.
Perfect. Yeah, that's the one thing is like any chain that comes on THORChain, ideally, the cost to run its infrastructure should be covered by the swap volume it generates, the yield it generates on THORChain. And with Pirate Chain, it sounds like it's very, very cheap. So that should be no problem, which is a great selling point. So that's great. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't take much at all. So,
and if you're curious, Daniel, so this is one of the like how THORChain works. Like a lot of these other platforms rely on oracles or RPC endpoints.
mm-hmm.
The THORChain nodes runs a full node of each blockchain that we support, and that's what makes THORChain like independent, basically, or like censorship resistant. And so we made the for Solana, we caved, and we're using RPC endpoints for Solana because running a full node in Solana is like it's it's crazy. So we couldn't, it's just not feasible for every THORChain node. But all the other like simple, I don't know, simpler chains, easier chains to run. The nodes run a full node for each, so that makes THORChain more secure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the implementation should be right. You guys are already doing Zcash. Pirate
I was
chain
just going to say that.
implementation shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah,
should be easy.
Exactly. Yeah, I should
have
be
something
able
to add
to
on that, actually.
Yeah, go ahead, Denny.
So I actually talked. This is a few weeks ago. So the one difference between the implementation is that, with Pirate Chain, as you talked about, Daniel, is that it's completely private, right? It's the shielded version. And so that would take, from what I understand, Kenton, it would take some significant engineering to work. I know Maya protocol, since they have shielded transactions only, we would have to, it would require significant engineering on our chain client side. Maybe something we can fork partially from Maya protocol. I'm not sure, but it's not as trivial as just taking the Zcash chain client and just like, do private chain. So
your Zcash swaps they're not going to be
they're not going to be shielded initially.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right. That will take some work.
My protocol is a friendly fork of THORChain. They have shielded Zcash, as far as I know. So they've got that. Yeah, but it would require some engineering to do. Yeah, basically. But
it's
definitely
talk
feasible,
about it,
obviously.
right? We'll just, Daniel, when we're offline here, we can, we'll get a group chat going, and I can put your devs in touch with our devs.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'll get the devs on the in a chat with you guys. Because I am not a developer. I'm just I don't know what I am, actually.
You're a first mate.
You're a first mate. You're first mate.
There we go.
No, I'm not a dev. Neither is Denny. But we do what we can. We connect devs. We'll put you guys in the same.
Yeah,
room.
We're matchmakers.
Yeah,
we have a dating service for devs, basically.
Perfect. So, I got some devs that are on the market that would love to link up. So, I would love to help you guys make that happen. It would be incredible.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would love to see you guys on THORChain. Daniel, is there anything else that you want to talk about with Pirate Chain or anything in general that we haven't that you want to bring up?
I guess I will do my obligatory call for donations. We are a fair launch project. We don't have an ICO or a pre-mine or anything like that. None of us are paid. I am a volunteer here. I spend my own money to contribute to this project and to go to conferences and stuff like that. Our developers are not paid. They're all volunteers. I mean, sometimes we do fundraisers where we hire, do a specific fundraiser and hire a developer to help out our devs and stuff, but our core team is not paid. None of us are making money from this. We just spend a bunch of our own money. So we do take donations for different initiatives that we have going on. And if you go to our website, piratechain.com/crowdfunding, there's a general donation address there for, it's got Pirate Chain, Monero, and I think Litecoin as well for general donations. And then we always have a few specific initiatives if you want to donate to something specific there. So we are busting our butts over here, and we don't get paid for it. We're all volunteers, and not complaining about that at all. I'm not trying to get paid. But that does mean that, we have to raise money from our community to make things happen. So, and continue
you got to eat. Stuff. You got to eat, bro. I mean, so just real quick, piratechain.com/crowdfunding. Is that what it was?
Correct. Yep.
Are you pulling it up, Danny?
I was writing it down at first from my notes.
I'm trying to...
Go and pull it up.
I'm trying to find it here.
Yeah, we are working on that page. We are making a more streamlined donation system and a way for community members to propose initiatives and fund them themselves and stuff. So our donation page is kind of bare bones right now. It's essentially just addresses and a description of whatever initiative's going on. But yeah, we do take and for the privacy coins, Monero and Pirate Chain, we are we do publish the viewing keys for those so that anyone can see how much money was raised. And then whenever we raise the money and go to pay the bill, whatever we raise money for, we announce the community, we raised the right amount and we're sending it out. So it does give us some accountability with view keys for it. You're not just sending your money to a black hole. You can see that it's not touched there until we actually announce we're spending it on whatever initiative and stuff. So you can't, for Monero and Pirate Chain both, it's got the viewing keys there. So if people want to go hold us accountable, they can. And I think we do very well with our money. We don't blow it on stupid stuff. We are very careful with it and very transparent about how we're spending it. So I'd love support from anybody out there. And you can find all the other information about PirateChain on piratechain.com. It's got all the links to everything.
I'm there right now. Sorry. And so what was the URL for your donation?
Thought it was crowdfunding. I guess I could double check real quick.
I got it. 1 second.
Oh, do you want me to stop sharing, Denny? I'll stop sharing.
All right,
Yeah.
stand by. Give me 1 second. Share screen. Try here.
There we go.
Right here, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
There we go. So it looks like we got like 2 funding drives going on and a general donation address. So yeah, we're trying to get on Anon Bazaar, which is an online marketplace for privacy coins for buying and selling. So we're trying to raise some money to get on there. And we do accept Monero and Litecoin. So any donations are appreciated. And yeah, we're really busting our butts so we could use our support from our community and any other communities that want to see privacy succeed.
I love the
Yes.
ARRR asset. I think that's funny. I enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, somebody's trying to steal our ticker. Somebody launched a freaking Solana meme coin with R. We're like, hold up, guys.
Oh, well, wait
Hold
a
up.
second. Yeah.
We've had this for a while, so stepping on our toes, but
Don't
not
mess with pirates. That's all I can say.
yeah, you don't want to mess with pirates. Okay, so but we are a fully proof of work blockchain. We are not a token on Solana, so do not get confused with that.
Is there any wrap versions that exist anywhere else, or it's just only the layer?
They've not from the team. Some other people have wrapped tokens on Ethereum and BNB, but I think they're defunct now, so don't buy those.
Okay, so just the R asset, the real layer one, which you'd always try to be. I wouldn't get a wrapped asset of a privacy coin. That'd be stupid. But okay.
Yeah, people are free to do it, but these bridges get hacked so often and stuff that our team doesn't want to. Like our team doesn't want to do that. So, but anyone, feel free to wrap it if you want, but it doesn't have our endorsement.
What is the main venue to like? Where do you get the most liquidity to buy?
I think nowadays it's MEXC. It was TradeOgre. Rest in peace, TradeOgre. But it was TradeOgre. But I think MEXC is our biggest now. And there's this other exchange that has been popping off the last couple of years called nonkyc.io. And those, I don't know a ton about them, but they're really nice. Like, the deposits and withdrawals happen like super quickly, and they got all the privacy coins on there. They didn't ask us to pay them to put PirateChain on there. They just listed us like they do all the other privacy coins. So I've been really impressed with them. But like I said, I'd rather move in the direction toward using DEXs and stop relying on centralized exchanges, especially after TradeOgre. I am so bummed out. I love TradeOgre.
Yeah,
I miss those guys.
R.I.P. TradeOgre.
Yeah,
I bought some PirateChain there a couple years ago on TradeOgre.
Yeah, they were awesome.
Yeah,
I love that guy or those guys. Who knows who it was? And they haven't made any arrests over it either. That whole situation is just weird, dude.
Oh, I thought he was arrested.
Nope, they have not made. They did not. They have not made any arrests related to TradeOgre. The only thing they said is they believe it belongs. So it was the Canadian government that sees it.
Yeah.
They said they believed it was an American citizen. They didn't even say for sure. They said they believe it was an American citizen that was running it, and he has since passed away. Which I'm like, how did you get access to all the wallets if he passed away? Like, I don't get any of it. It's a weird situation, dude. I think there's more to it.
That's what I thought. I thought I heard the RCMP like confiscated like $30 million something from TradeOgre. That was like the last.
They confiscated most of the funds, but they never made any arrests. And they said they think the guy is dead. And they got most of the funds, but there was some pirates who attended their, I don't know, they call it like news conference or one of their hearings or whatever on the case. And in that hearing, there was a couple assets that they said they were not able to gain access to yet. And PirateChain was one of them that they were not able to get their PirateChain assets yet for some reason. I don't know if they kept the keys in a different place as the rest of them. So there's a good chance that all of the PirateChain that was on TradeOgre is just, gone into the oblivion and won't be coming back. Because from what I understand, they weren't able to access it. And that was where PirateChain had the most liquidity. So a good amount of pirate could be out of circulation from TradeOgre, but there's no way to confirm that.
Well, if they baited the guy.
More reason to get you guys on THORChain. So if your listeners are listening, like the way THORChain works is you have self-custody of your pirate chain. You only, after you do a trade, it's settled in your wallet. So if THORChain blows up, disappears, whatever, the liquidity pool gets hacked, your pirate chain in your wallet is fine. That's safe, self-custody, no problem. So,
Awesome.
yeah, don't, you're,
Yeah, we got to move to DEXs. We got to stop relying on centralized entities. Gotta
That's
move
the
to
point.
DEXs.
Yeah, because you have someone like Great Trade Ogre who has a great experience, right? But then there's that threat vector, the attack vector, right? That's a breach of first principles. And you know what THORChain does is really, for those who don't know, like THORChain is so complicated, guys. Doing real layer 1 to layer 1, it's a simple sentence. It is the most brutal, unbelievably complicated thing we have ever done. Chad Barraford, one of our core devs, said, had he known how hard it was, he probably would have not taken the task on. Like, it's that freaking hard. I mean, you can imagine every error, every bug, consensus failure, double spends, all the nuances, the idiosyncrasies of the various chains. All of that has to be accounted for in the chain client. It's brutal, you guys. So, but we've done it. It works really good now. So I'm really looking forward to get Pirate Chain on THORChain. Kenton said it many times. And Ken said it many times, you know, THORChain, and it's a perfect product market fit. It's a privacy DEX, right? We say we're the biggest Bitcoin DEX in the world, but we should be the biggest privacy DEX in the world too. Let's get it done.
I agree. Yeah, let's make it happen, guys. We'll get you in contact with some developers and we'll move this conversation forward.
Awesome. Great.
Awesome.
Well, should we wrap it up, Denny?
I'm thinking so. What about Daniel? Go ahead.
One last chance for you, Daniel. Sorry. Anything else you want to talk about?
Just check us out at piratechain.com. It's got links to our Discord, Telegram, and everything. We've got a super vibrant community, so come hang out with us on Discord or Telegram or wherever. Piratechain.com.
Absolutely love it. Fantastic. This was great. Hang out with us, Daniel. Make sure you load up on your client side like we talked about. Guys, I want to say it one more time. Pirate Chain, this has been an absolutely fantastic conversation. Piratechain.com/crowdfunding. Piratechain.com/crowdfunding, guys. These are the real deal. These are the people that we love. They share the ethos, as we talked about earlier. We're all on the same team. We're all coming at the problem of liberating the world, building real new economic infrastructure. We're all meeting in the middle. THORChain, Pirate Chain, lots of love thrown to XMR. There's no tribalism here. We have a mandate. We have a mission. Let's get it done together. Once we liberate the world, then we can get tribal about what coin's best, what DEX is best. But until then, guys, we're all on the same team. We all wear the same jersey here. So what a great, fantastic conversation. I love it. Guys, for THORChain data and insights, please follow @Ray Analytics on X. He does written recaps of these podcasts, so he will do one of this as well on Pirate Chain. Can't wait. And always remember, guys, the views expressed are solely the hosts and guests. Any action taken on this information is at your own risk. Past performance is never indicative of future results, and the THORChain community does not endorse or condone any illicit activity of any kind whatsoever. Next Thursday, which we call Thursday, guys, we'll be doing our regular update. The Saturday, we're going to be talking to Deepouch, Thorborn, at Bubble Bite. Hopefully I said that correct. Bubby Bite, actually. Sorry. We're going to be talking with them, guys, so don't miss that episode. Daniel, gosh dang it, man. This was great getting to meet you, dude. I hope I meet you in real life, like I met Amy. You're a solid dude, man. Super cool. I hope we run into a conference in the future. You're freaking awesome, man.
Yeah,
Thumbs
man,
up, brother.
Me too. You guys are great. I would love to meet you in person sometime.
Let's do it. All right, guys. That's going to wrap up this episode. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out today. I hope everyone has a great day. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye.